All right, folks, we need to have a serious talk. Things have blown up this week, but the anger, the frustration has always been there. The problem that we're having with communicating is understanding that slavery did not end with Lincoln freeing the slaves. Now, I understand when I say this is a really broad statement. People were released from their chains. They no longer had a master. They were left on their own devices. But the problem with the way things work is that you can't have someone oppressed for that long and expect them just to jump right back into society. Mistakes were made that we're dealing with right now. Understand what's happening right now goes back to that. Because after slavery, we had Jim Crow in the South, where men and women were lynched for simply stepping out of line. Now, when I say step out of line, what they were using for their social laws came from slave codes. And they enforced the separate but equal, but the freed blacks were unequal, and they're expected to live on their side of town and not have the same opportunity as everybody else. Let's focus on the opportunities. Opportunities are earning a real living, being able to live in a neighborhood, a good neighborhood, ability to build a business. Now, this all came to a head. We just celebrated the anniversary of Tulsa, where the free blacks were able to do this, build our community, get ahead, and actually start making some income. It was called Black Wall Street. So what happened? The whites came in and massacred all of them. This isn't in your history books because we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about the lynchings. We don't want to talk about how blacks were held back. And we don't want to talk about even after the Civil Rights Act, they still had to fight for loans and to be a part of society because they were still stuck in those neighborhoods that came from segregation. Now, it's easy to say it was just the South, but the North was awful as well, where they weren't forced into segregation. That's just how the system worked, where they couldn't get the loans for houses. And this just went on and on and on. And we also talked about education. And then the drug war that simply affected people of color more than whites. I mean, look at how many blacks are in jail. And you can't just say that they're worse criminals than whites. So I digress from my point here. We need to listen and understand the reason why things are the way they are and why people are angry. And I say this, and some of you are just flipping your lid saying, oh, that's why they're looting and destroying stuff. It's not just the blacks that are looting. There's a lot of middle-class white kids that are looting too. So let's not make this into a racial issue of looting, or to put looting ahead of all the thousands of people that are peacefully protesting every single day this week. If you look at it, the crowds during the day are protesting, having silent protests, and the people at night are just causing mayhem. I understand the people causing mayhem and their anger, white, black, everything in between. The system is not right. It is not right for a black man or woman to be in fear when they get pulled over by the cops. These are all things we have to work on. So what's the solution? Our government can fix this. They can rein in the cops. They can make them more accountable. They can take away the things that are keeping them from being accountable. Then we also need to fix the money and talk about things like a living wage without flying off the hook and calling it communism. People are in pain. They are struggling. We need to take a look at all these things. Do I have all the solutions? Absolutely not, but let's talk about it. So I want you to go back to your homes, to your corners, to your neighborhoods, to your family discussions, and actually talk about this. Let's not just in a year from now be like, oh yeah, that was wild. But how about Wall Street? How about that economy? If all of us aren't doing well, none of us are doing well. And this isn't an argument for communism. I'm all about capitalism. But we have an explosive problem we need to deal with. What I want from you now, I want you to comment. I want you to talk about your pain, talk about your struggles. I want you to talk about what you don't understand and get a conversation going so we can start talking to our leaders, our elected leaders by the people, and try to get a handle on this. If you haven't checked it out, I've got a full podcast, a 23-minute podcast going into detail with this. And guess what? I'm going to talk about it again next week. So go ahead and like the page you're watching this on Instagram or on Facebook or on Twitter. It's at Calfani King. And let's follow it. Let's get a conversation going. I'm posting about this all week. I want to hear from you. This isn't about me. This is about all of us. Let's make this situation better. Let's make it better for everyone. Let's all get off our asses and work. Let's do the work. Let's actually do the work and fix this.